Hi guys, Carl again from Self-Sufficient Hub, and I'm here to talk about seedlings and specifically buying seedlings. Now, these are all seedlings back here that we're obviously growing from seed, and I want to just talk about the idea of buying seedlings, because even if we're trying to grow all of our own crops from seed, or from even if we're trying to save seed and like have that perpetual cycle, there's still sometimes when it just makes sense to buy seedlings. Now, back here, you might remember me mentioning in a video a little while back that for whatever reason this year, some of my leeks, or a lot of my leeks, haven't germinated. I planted every single one of these modules, which would have given us well over 100 leeks, even if we only had a 90% germination rate. But for some reason, we've got closer to 10. So we've only got about, I don't know, 15 or so leeks here, which isn't nearly enough for what we're going to need when, you know, it's leek season. We're going to need quite a lot. I was in the position where I had to buy some seedlings. Now, you've got so many options when you're buying seedlings, and there's quite a lot to think about as to actually where you're going to buy them. And I just want to talk to you today about a few tips if you're going to buy seedlings, how you can really make good decisions and get the most for your money. So I would say that there's two places that most people think of when they think about buying seedlings. And the first is the garden centre, and the second is a sort of discount store, you know, a home and garden type discount store. Well, they've each got their positives and negatives. Now, at a garden centre, one of the positives are that these seedlings, chances are they're going to be looked after by staff that kind of know what they're doing. They're going to have regular watering, they're going to have the right conditions, so that when you get them home, chances are you're taking back some plants that are in really good health, really good vigour, which gives them every chance when you get them in the ground. The downside of buying from a garden centre is the price. Now, I was looking in a garden centre just the other day, and I think for a pack of leeks, there were maybe 6 or 7 plants in a little strip, and they wanted £3. Well, I can buy organic leeks for about that much, or even less, so it just made no financial sense to be buying seedlings there. On the opposite side of that coin, you've got your discount stores, your home and garden discount stores. In the UK, they might be stores like B&M or The Range. Now, in these stores, you've got the opposites. So the positives from the garden centre are the negatives here, and vice versa. Cost-wise, they're going to be really effective. In fact, you can get some real bargains there. There's another discount store called Home Bargains, and it does generally give really good value for money. However, the downside is the plants are usually really, really poorly looked after. Now, you can occasionally get a real bargain and end up walking away with stuff almost for free because they look quite sad. But generally speaking, these plants will have had a tough life. They haven't been looked after. I mean, I've gone to a local store in our local town probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. I happened to be in there, and I went and I thought, well, I'll have a look outside. And outside in their garden centre section was a load of tomato plants and, you know, other frost tender plants outside and dead, just completely dead, but still just on the shelves there. And it just goes to show you don't know what kind of problems you might be bringing home with your plant if it's already been frost damaged, or however poorly it's been looked after. The legacy of those problems are going to be coming home with you. Now, that's not to say that you flat out shouldn't buy from these places, of course. Sometimes it can work out fantastically. But there are two other options that I really like. Now, the first of which is where I bought these leeks from, and that is a nursery, a plant nursery. Now, in my opinion, plant nurseries kind of give you the best of both worlds, because the pricing, for me, in my experience, is dramatically better than at a garden centre. What we're basically doing by going straight to the nurseries is we're buying from the same places that the garden centres and the home bargain stores are buying from. Now, I bought these leeks and they were £1.90, so, you know, less than 2/3 the cost of that tray that had 6 or 7 in. And these have got, let's count them, 25 plants. So I'm getting about 4 times the plants for 2/3 of the cost. You don't need to be Einstein to work out the maths on that. So I bought 2 trays of leeks, and that's given me 50 additional leeks for my garden. With the 15 or so I've already got, that'll be just about enough. So, like I say, that was £1.90 a tray, and I got 2 trays. Now, the other place that I will often buy seedlings is just at the side of the road. People like myself who have just sown some plants and have additional seedlings quite often put them at the side of the road. Now, obviously, it's going to depend where you live. You're going to come across this a lot less, I imagine, if you live in a heavily urbanised environment. If you live in the centre of a city, you probably don't have access to this kind of thing. But if you live in a rural location out in the countryside like I do, I quite often find myself coming across a little stall at the side of the road, just like we've got here. And that is where I picked up these broccoli plants. In here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 broccoli plants for 50p. So for £1, I picked up 15 broccoli plants. I'm very happy with that. Now, of course, when you're buying things at the side of the road, you don't really know the provenance of them. You don't know how well they've been looked after, but from my point of view, this is how I think about it. Someone who is going to the effort of growing seedlings and someone who's growing more seedlings than they need, chances are they're going to be looking after them. That's my feeling anyway, and it's worked out for me. I've got here, for under a £5, 15 broccoli plants and 50 leeks for under a £5. Well, that for me is value for money, however you spin it. Now, we've all got different reasons for why we're doing what we're doing. Perhaps you're growing vegetables to save money. Perhaps you're growing vegetables because you want to know the provenance of your food. Perhaps you want to eat organically, and it's very, very expensive to do that in the shops, which comes back to point one, saving money. Either way, we don't want to be wasting money. So, firstly, what I want to say is, don't be scared to buy seedlings. It's not a cop-out, and it's also a great way of dealing with the conundrum if you don't have an inside space like this to grow in. So if you don't have a polytunnel or a greenhouse, or you have very limited space in one, then growing seedlings is a great way to solve that problem. If, however, you do have the space, and like me, you're trying to grow everything from seed, there's going to be things that just don't work out for whatever reason. The climate's unpredictable, and I don't have a heated greenhouse. I don't have a heated inside space. So it's quite often I find myself with something that just isn't quite getting there for me. And I have no problem with plugging that gap by buying seedlings. From my point of view, it's far better than just going without. So if you're going to buy seedlings, there's lots of things to think about, but there's some definite tricks that you can use to save yourself some money. And a lot of it comes down to just keeping your eyes open when you're driving around for spotting these stalls and finding a decent plant nursery near you. Now, here in the UK, we have them all over the place, but wherever you live, you might need to drive a little bit further. So it can pay to sort of plan these trips in advance. Find out where your local nursery is so that when you're in that area, you can make a point of extending your trip and popping in and seeing them. They are by far and away the most reliable and efficient way of sourcing seedlings. Now, there's one more top tip. Don't be shy to count the plants. Now, when I was at the nursery, I made a point of counting the plants in each of these trays, because in these two, we've averaged about 25 in each. There were some there with 18, some there with 20. I definitely took the most populous ones. Don't be shy. Someone's going to take them home. It may as well be you. So, you know, you can really vary your cost per plant just by picking out the really, really densely packed ones. Obviously, have a look at the plant. If they've suffered from being densely packed, they've been in there too long, they're root bound, they've gone leggy, whatever it might be, then you might want to avoid them. But generally speaking, if they're a plant that isn't going to suffer or hasn't suffered from any of those things, then pick the tray that's got the most plants in. So there you go, my top tips for buying seedlings. And don't be shy about doing it. If you need some extra seedlings, you haven't quite got there with some of your sowings, or some of your sowings have let you down, don't be shy. Go out and find yourself some seedlings to fill that gap. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've enjoyed this video and you're still watching, so you probably have, please press that like button down below. Please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Leave me a comment. Let me know what seedlings you've bought this year and why, and where you're buying them. If there's any other tips for buying seedlings that I've missed, please do let me know in the comments. Also, this goes for all my videos. It's really worth reading the comments, because quite often there's some great tips down there that I hadn't thought of or I hadn't thought to include. So it is always worth checking them out. It's also worth checking out the podcast. Self-Sufficient Hub podcast every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you really soon. Cheers.